Thanks for downloading the Beyond the Numbers podcast. If you hear anything you need clarity on or want more information, visit mycampbellandco.cpa. You can also find more contact information in today's show notes. Thanks for listening. And now, the Beyond the Numbers podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Randy Cardis. Today, we're talking about technology transformation and the one thing most teams skip until it's too late. They buy software on excitement, features, and fear of missing out. And then maybe 6 months later, everyone is asking a painful question. What did we actually get for the money? We bought features, but we didn't get outcomes. So here's the promise for today. In the next 30, 45 minutes, we're going to learn a simple finance-first way to compute ROI before you invest, and you're going to be able to see and actually build your own ROI model using a calculator that we have built for you, and it is free. So quick housekeeping. This session is purely educational. It is not tax advice, legal advice, or investment advice. Also, please do not copy paste financial confidential data into public links and chats. And we're going to be, definitely you're going to want to use reasonable and rounded inputs for everything here. So, who is this for? This webinar is going to be for leaders, finance teams, accounting teams, and operations. If you approve budgets, or you own outcomes, or maybe you have to explain results, then you're in the right room. Because if you've ever been told, we need this software, your team's like, I need this, or I need this for that, but no one really can come to you and say, here's what the return is, here's the value, then you are absolutely in the right room, because this happens so much in accounting and finance. There's so many tools out in this marketplace today. It almost can feel overwhelming and saturated, at times. And so we have to be extremely mindful of what it truly is that we are trying to solve. And that is where our ROI model comes in, and really this core idea. So technology transformation is not a software purchase. It's a business case. And the business case has to answer 3 questions. And they have to answer them clearly. The first is, what is the outcome that we are buying? The second is, what is the measurable value of that outcome? And then thirdly, when are we going to get our money back? That's the return on that investment. If your project or this software cannot answer these 3 questions, then you really don't have a transformation plan. You have a hope plan. And hope is not an implementation strategy. So, something I want to ask everyone, and feel free to put this in the comments, but it's a quick poll to calibrate the room. What is your biggest ROI challenge today? And number one, maybe you can't quantify the benefits of an investment that your team is looking at. 2, maybe you're struggling with adoption. Option C, timelines, they're slipping, and the ROI, you really aren't getting what you thought you would. And 4, maybe you just don't know the baseline metrics. Where did you start? What is the team currently doing that you're trying to solve compared to what you think they can be doing? Put your answers down in the chat. We'll see where you are. But the key thing here is these answers, this is exactly what our framework, this ROI framework we've built, help answer. They solve these 4 things for you. And so we get into exactly this. Why is ROI, why does it get missed sometimes? So let's talk about why ROI gets missed. Most teams start with features, dashboards, automation, AI, integrations, but finance does not approve these features. Finance approves the outcome of these. The finance and the accounting team, we need to see the actual dollar savings, the time savings, and even maybe there's a risk reduction that comes with this investment you're looking for. Maybe you're freeing up capacity or delivering efficiency. And so we have to find alignment with our team. And we need a translation layer that kind of takes us from where we are to where we want to be. And we need to translate, hey, this is great, cool software. We need to translate cool software into a measurable value driver. And that is exactly what we're doing today. So let's talk about the framework. We've built an 8-step ROI framework. Here it is. The first is defining the scope. The second, establishing the baseline. What do we do today? The third, identifying the value drivers. What is the benefit if we make this decision, we make these investments? What is it going to do for us? And once we've identified those things, the fourth step is we need to set assumptions. We've got to come up with what we think is going to happen. What are all the different inputs to our model, the variables that we can change? Maybe some are dependent on others. Maybe others are standalone. We have to identify those. We have to know what we're looking for. The fifth is modeling the costs and the timing. Maybe it's a one-time fee up front. Maybe it's a one-time fee plus a monthly subscription. Cost might be multi-year even. We have to understand what those are. The sixth, applying realization and risk. 7, stress testing your scenarios. And 8, summarizing for a decision. And this is what we're going to walk through today. We're going to walk through these real quickly, and then we're going to do a live build using the tool that we've built. And you're going to be able to walk away with this today and do it on your own and actually even follow along if you want and build your own as I'm going through. So step 1 is defining the scope. Scope answers what is included and what is not. For example, maybe you're trying to solve for the financial close speed, or you're trying to solve for AP throughput. Or maybe trying to solve for reporting and visibility that, for the last 5 years, you're getting your financial statements 2 months after the month-end close. A 60-day close, I've heard horror stories. They happen, and they are real today. Great finance teams, great accounting teams are closing their books within 7 days of the month. That is a pretty good goal to have. If you can close your books within 7 days, that is phenomenal. And maybe, too, your scope, you're thinking about, well, we've got these legacy tools we've used for the last 20 years, last 10 years. Maybe they're sunsetting. Maybe there's no support for them at all. Or maybe there's great competitors out there that you need to start leveraging, or else you're the risk of your business being put out of business is truly real. So if you don't know your scope, if your scope is fuzzy, ROI is a fantasy. If you don't know your scope and you're trying to come up with an ROI, whatever you have come up with, it's a fantasy. It really is. So your scope has to fit into one sentence. It should fit into one sentence. For example, we're investing to reduce month-end close time, reduce AP invoice handling time, and improve reporting visibility across our entities. One sentence, 3 big value drivers there that we've identified, but one sentence and clear outcomes. So that's defining our scope. The second, establishing the baseline. Baseline is your before picture. This is the part almost everyone avoids because it feels tedious. But the baseline, it's the entire foundation. If you don't know your current close time, you don't know your current invoice volume, your current process steps, you simply cannot credibly claim improvement. You can't after the fact. You have to be tracking this today, or if you're not tracking it, you've got to come up with a mechanism to track it now and start getting some statistics to report on. So your baseline, it is measurable and it's specific. How long does close take today? Maybe today it's 28 days. How many invoices do we touch per month? Maybe it's 300. How many minutes does each invoice take end to end to process? How many people are involved? How much of their time goes into this? If you do, and if you don't have perfect numbers, that's totally fine. Use reasonable estimates and label them as estimates, because a lot of this, it can be qualitative, and the administrative burden to even gathering some of this information can be very costly. And so reasonable estimates are totally fine if they make sense and your team agrees on them. But you must start with something. So the third, the actual value drivers. We've defined the scope. We've established the baseline of what we do today, what we're measuring against. 3, this is where people either get it right or they start making up benefits. Here is where a defensible value drivers can really be something that leadership and finance understand. So close acceleration. This is something we're going to talk about today in our model, and you're going to actually see it in practice. Close acceleration. This frees up capacity and improves decision making. If we can close the books faster, that's what it does. AP automation. This is going to reduce the cost of processing invoices, and it's going to free up staff's capacity. Maybe your business is growing. You're adding on offices, and if you invest and this AP automation comes into place, maybe you don't have to hire another person. That's headcount avoidance. And this can be a real high growth accelerator if you can knock that down. Another great value driver we're going to talk about is vendor spend improvement, meaning better purchasing, fewer duplicate tools, tighter controls. And another great one, legacy systems being retired. There's a cost to our systems and those legacy systems. Getting rid of them means we're saving some money and it's offsetting our investment that we're making here. So another really good one that can be very difficult to quantify, but extremely powerful, is working capital improvements, like better collections and reduced days sales outstanding. You're collecting from your clients or your customers more timely, more quickly. Maybe you're even creating or generating your invoices to your clients at a much more accelerated path, maybe at the time of delivery, maybe the time of order. Maybe even you've got automation embedded into your collections efforts where you're following up with clients more timely or more frequently. That can translate into specific operational dollars. Next, step 4 are the assumptions. We've got those other items. Now we need to start making assumptions, but we need them to be honest. That's tough. Assumptions include things like what percentage of time could be saved, what and how quickly do we adopt or can we adopt the new process, what is the ramp up period, what is the quality of implementation, and my favorite assumption, the one that saves you from embarrassing ROI slides, realization percentage. Because not every hour saved becomes a dollar saved. So sometimes it becomes a faster service, sometimes it becomes fewer mistakes, and sometimes it becomes capacity to grow without hiring. Realization percent is how you keep the model credible. Step 5, costs and timing. So this is another place where we can just get sloppy. One-time costs include implementation, migration, training. You've got change management, project management, even integrations. You've got a lot of stakeholders. And there are ongoing costs, something like licenses or maybe support, admin time, and maybe any other new tools that you end up adding with your investment. So timing matters because value rarely starts on day one. Most projects have a ramp up, so we want to model the cash out now and the benefits over time. This is why the payback period and NPV, which is net present value, exist. They help us respect time and make our model really incorporate those concepts. Step 6, risk and reality checks. So this is where we're going to protect ourselves from us. We're going to really protect ourselves from questions like, what if the adoption is slower? And what if we only achieve half the time savings we thought we would? What if we add an extra integration? And what if the timeline slips 60 days? That would be unfortunate. If ROI falls apart under mad stress, it's not the ROI. I promise you, it's not an ROI. There is no ROI. It's wishful thinking. So that's where we get into step 7. We need to stress test our scenarios. We have to have scenarios. And I recommend at least 3. You need a conservative, you need a likely, and you need an aggressive. Conservative is your safety case. And likely your best estimate too. Aggressive is what happens if everything goes right. Okay. And then lastly, finance and an accounting team, finance will respect you more when you lead with conservative estimates. And it's going to show you have thought about the downsides more than anything else. So leading with and running from a conservative standpoint is truly going to be a great course of action. Finally, once you've done all of these steps, this is where you get to present your actual ROI case. It's the decision. This is the output that you want. This is the output that the leadership wants. It's not a 30-tab spreadsheet. Everyone wants. We all want something that says, here's the annual net value, here's the payback period, here's the 3-year value. Maybe you're able to actually show the monthly cash in because of this investment. And over time, we need to incorporate some concepts that include time. So NPV, the net present value, if you want to be fancy, maybe the top drivers. So they know what must be true for success. And that single sentence recommendation. Should we approve it? Should your team approve it? Should they delay it or maybe rescope it? So that's where the decision comes in. So we've covered the framework. Now is time for the live demo. Feel free to follow along with this. This is something I absolutely love that we've built because we ended up doing so many of these. My team, we do sell software, we implement it. We help people make these decisions, and so we needed to create for ourselves a model to help us do this more quickly. And we think we really nailed it. And so what I want everyone to do, feel free to head out to roi.mycampbellandco.com to follow along. Here is exactly where we're going to knock through. So I'm going to share my screen. Here is that website. Now, feel free to go through this. We've got the framework laid out. We've got our methodology. We've got a lot of sources that help to back and inform our decisions on how we should set this up. And so one of the first ones I want to tackle is going to be the baseline metrics for close. Okay, we see that here in this first option. So feel free to click on ROI calculator up at the top. Scroll down till you get to the actual assumptions, and you're going to see close and compliance. Now, the month-end close, this is something all organizations have. If you're a little smaller, your bookkeeping team is definitely doing this at the end of every month. They got to classify transactions. They got to close it. They have a process they're going through to reconcile your bank accounts so that you actually have financial statements to review. And so four of the components here we have are, what are the estimated hours you're going to save per close? In this case, let's go with 14. You need to know and make an estimate, an assumption on what the hourly rate is for your staff. In this case, let's throw $75 into the model. Next, number of closes per year, 12 if you've got a monthly close. If you're a little smaller, maybe you're closing your books quarterly. So you change this down to 4. And notice as you do, your live ROI analysis at the far right, your summary, is going to adjust. And then finally, maybe the investment you're making is going to cut down on an audit that you get done every year, maybe the audit preparation that your team has to go through. If you're going to save some time, on that as well, up those hours. In this case, I'm not going to add anything in, but what I want you to do, you want to ask your team how many people are involved, and multiply that by just the number of, like we said, the number of hours that we've got here. So, getting into the next option here, operations and accounts payable. So this is for AP automation, and what we are capturing is what your estimated annual revenue is. You want to plug that in here. It only lives here in the tool. How many invoices are you processing per year? How many minutes do you think you're going to be saving as a result of this? So you're going to throw those in here, and then of course the labor rate for accounts payable, and that as well. You can just change these up and down. It's going to adjust your model. Next, finance team and headcount. So here's where you're going to put the number of team members on your finance team, your accounts payable team, whatever it might be, their average labor rate, and then productivity improvements. So based on everything that they're doing, what percentage, how much more will they be able to get done as a result of this investment? And productivity realization. This is the portion of that is truly measurable savings. Okay, we might be able to do something 5% faster, 50% faster, but we're not going to realize 100% of that. Maybe we only realize 1.5% or 5 or 10% of that. In addition, you might be saying, hey, we're looking at having to hire another person at $75,000 a year here. But because we're investing in this tool, we don't have to next year. And that's where you would put in 1. In this case, I'm going to just keep this down at 0. And of course, we've got a fully loaded cost per employee. This is usually going to be salaries, and then you're going to throw in some assumptions for fringe benefits and the like. Usually I like to do like a 25 to 30% adder, maybe even 35% adder on whatever the salary is or annualized hourly rate. Next, we have an awesome section here for spend and cash flow. What's your annual vendor spend? How much can we improve on that spend improvement? You can adjust your days per year as well from 365 to 260. I like to use a 260 model only because, we're only working 5 days a week. And so I like the data or the model to reflect that 260 as opposed to a 365 day model. In this case, we're gonna improve DSO by 1 day, and feel free to up that, and you're gonna see the impact exactly to your model here. Now, risk reduction score. This is a nice proxy for risk in your processes. Maybe a single error with whatever process this technology is improving. Maybe a single error is not catastrophic. A single error doesn't result in any downstream work or impact. It's a very simple fix. You're going to want to put this low. And maybe you put it at 1 because a single error, it costs you $250. Feel free to put that into your model here. We got 250. Now, if the impact of an error is much larger and gets multiple people involved, that's where this is a great adjusting, another variable for you to include into your model. And then we're actually computing the revenue per day to help with our DSO, right? Because we're going to take that total revenue, the annualized revenue figure that you've provided, we're going to divide it by 365 or 260 days, and it's going to give us a revenue per day. And so there you go. If you can improve invoicing and collections by a single day, you're improving your cash position by $19,000. That's pretty good for cash flow. The next section here is for systems and margin. What is the cost of your legacy software that you're replacing? Do you have IT server costs or administration costs? Maybe you have an outsourced IT managed service provider, and included in their $3,000 or $4,000 fee per month is server maintenance. Well, how much will you save with their contract if you eliminate this equipment? Those are great items for you to plug in here. In addition, well, what's the cost of your new system? In this case, we've got a $28,000 investment, a $33,000 one-time implementation cost. We believe, right now our discount rate, our weighted average cost of capital is 10%. If you were to take this $50,000 and put it somewhere else, what return is it going to get you there? 10%, in the market. Maybe you put 7.5% here if you throw it into a really good or a nice mutual fund or something. Whatever you might do, you want to put some assumption in here. And if you make this investment, maybe it will have a direct impact on your gross margin percentages. Maybe today your gross margin is sitting at 33%, but if you implement this, that's just going to better your ability to deliver your services much faster, invoice more. So now you've got more revenue and you still have the same cost of sales. That's a great piece here. And so with all of this, you can now see to the right your annual net value of this investment, $60,000 annual basis. Your payback period, 6.6 months. And over a 3-year period, $150,000 of savings. If we discount it in today's dollars, the value of today, it's $117,000 of savings. 400 hours that we're saving per year, some efficiency and revenue, and our biggest impacts are inventory and project profitability. That's the margin impact, gross margin impact. In addition, we've got our DSO accelerating and the close process. So as you scroll down, what I want you to take away here is the ability to share this. There's a nice link. Just click it. Copy paste that into Microsoft Teams or Slack and send it to one of your colleagues, because they will be able to just paste that in their browser and it's going to pull this up with exactly what you threw in. Awesome shareable link, right? This is not saved in some database somewhere, so you don't have to worry about anyone stealing your data, your information. It just lives in the browser. So send that link over to them, and now they can pull it up and make adjustments to the model on their end. And notice, for every category, every value driver that we've identified here, you can see what it looks like right here. And of course, the system consolidations, we've got a negative $22,000 because that's the cash out the door. Maybe you are going to be spending $22,000 more because it's a new software. But because of the value drivers up above, that is what justifies it. Even below, you can see some other great KPIs for this. And of course, the ability to download this to a PDF for yourself. We have some good commentary at the bottom to help give some color to everything that you've plugged into the model. And of course, now you have something tangible that spells out exactly why you should move forward with your technology investment. So, why you go through this motion? We go through this motion, and one of the biggest, there's going to be some mistakes that you're going to make along the way. There's 5 of them that we're going to cover today. The first is going to be there's no baseline, right? Maybe you've gone through the work of creating the scope. You know what's included, what you need to replace, but you haven't gone through the process of tracking where are you today. Maybe you don't know how long the close process takes. You don't know your DSO or DPO. These are all things that you want to get a really good handle on before you move forward with that investment. Okay? And so if your baseline is vague, if it is vague, every improvement claim that you make here, it's questionable. Right? That's the key. We might say these things, but prove it. You don't need the data to be perfect, okay? But you do need it to be measurable. The second common mistake that you want to avoid, and that's what this model is going to help you do, is you want to have benefits without owners. Now, what do I mean by that? If no one owns the adoption, if no one owns the training, and no one on your team owns the workflow redesign and governance, the ROI will simply not be realized. You need the right people in the right seat. You need the right people on your team. Software and any technology that you implement, it will simply not transform your workflows the way you think it will, because it's not the technology and the software that does it. People do. People do with the right systems and technology in place. The third mistake, and it's a common one you want to definitely not make, and this is ignoring change management. I have been the victim of this personally. Actually, I have been the perpetuator of this personally, and it's a tough thing to get through. It's a tough thing to learn, and learning the hard way helps you really understand that this is a mistake you really do not want to make because it can be so costly. Transformation is a behavior change. Transformation is a project. If you do not plan for training, new procedures, and reinforcement of those new procedures, you're going to get a shiny new tool sitting on the same old processes, and the ROI is just going to vanish. You have to take careful consideration of this, invest heavily in it, and it's going to probably require you or your team working over hours to get something like this done. The fourth common mistake is having unrealistic realization in mind. If you claim that every hour saved becomes dollar saved, hey, if we save 2 hours here, it's going to save us $5,000 there. You're going to lose credibility fast, okay? You need to use a realization percent to adjust for that, and you want to be conservative. That's going to help you build trust. The fifth mistake, the final one before we wrap things up here, this is great, is you forgot to stress test your model, okay? If your ROI collapses when you reduce the assumptions by 25%, so maybe you thought, oh, this is great, it's going to save us those 400 hours, but you didn't do another scenario to stress test this where, well, what if we don't? And, it's actually this, it comes in lower. You're going to be in a run for your money because you're going to find out quickly that you're losing money, and you do not want to be in that situation, okay? So always run conservative. Don't run aggressive. So, the recap. This is great. Today, we covered some amazing items. We dove into our investments, being able to have confidence moving forward with a technology investment that you have on your mind. Technology transformation is a business case. It's not a feature list. The business case starts with the baseline, understanding what you do today and what it's going to enable you to do tomorrow. Then the assumptions, then costs and timing, then the stress testing. If you can explain payback and the top drivers in plain English, your team is going to align with you faster and execute better. So, next steps. This is my call to action to you. If you want to use the ROI calculator, head out there. Head to roi.mycampbellandco.com. And if you want a second set of eyes on your assumptions, I offer a free 30-minute ROI validation session where I'll walk through it with you. I'll help you ask questions that maybe you haven't thought about yet to get to that true model of what it looks like. Is it realistic? And even better, maybe my team can help you execute on that. That's our expertise, and that's what I've been doing the last 10 years of my life. So we can help you bring your best estimates to the table. We'll help you stress test them together, and we'll help you leave with a decision-ready summary. That's what my guarantee to you is. So if you're interested, message me after the webinar, or after this live session, let me say, which is great, and we'll get together. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. This has been a pleasure. I'm excited to get to do more of these in the future. So tune into Beyond the Numbers, the podcast where we dig into everything that goes on with technology in your life. And I will see you next time where we go beyond the spreadsheets, beyond the chaos, of course, beyond the numbers.